Sources say Warner Brothers is gearing up to reboot the Matrix franchise. And I think, from what I can tell, I'm the only Matrix fan that is actually excited for this. Hey everybody, I'm Izzy, and before we get started, I really wanted to take the time to thank everybody who subscribed to my channel following my Shia LaBeouf flag heist video. That is already the most popular English video I've ever made for this channel. As I'm sure some of you know, I have a Brazilian channel that's a little more successful. Anyway, I feel like I mentioned that in every fucking video. I'm not bragging, I swear. I just want to give some context. So yeah, I never had that much success with a video before. I got a lot of new followers and a lot of new subscribers. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of your precious limited time with me. And I do a lot of videos like that, a little bit more production values and stuff. And I do some videos that are like this, just turning on the camera and talking to you about some things that kind of popped into my radar. So, The Matrix. I will show you this. I'm a huge Matrix fan, as you can see. I actually have the 10 DVD collection with like the little booklet with like some shit and a little statue of Neo. Look at Neo over here. Whoa. So I've always loved that movie. The first Matrix blew my fucking mind when I was a kid. That was the movie that expanded my horizon in the sense of the whole idea that reality around you is not real, and there's somebody that it's in someone's interest to put this image forth and to fool you. I had, as a 15-year-old at the time, I had never given that any thought, of course, because I was a fucking 15-year-old. So that blew my mind, and it became my favorite movie for many. It's still one of my favorite movies today because it really expanded the way I saw the world, and not many movies can do that for you. And I've always had this belief that the Matrix universe was kind of wasted because the second movie, right? Like the Matrix was kind of revolutionary in that it was a transmedia experiment. You had the first movie, which was pretty much perfect as far as movies go. The only thing I have some reservations with the forced relationship between Trinity and Neo. I didn't think they had any chemistry whatsoever, and the movie it wastes time with that. Not a fan. But aside from that, it was a gorgeous movie to look at, and it actually made you think. So that's a great movie as far as I'm concerned. Then you had the Animatrix, which was a series of 10, if I'm not mistaken, little animations that were put together as a feature presentation, and they expanded a lot of the Matrix universe in a very interesting way. But I always only really liked the Second Renaissance feature. It was two of them, Second Renaissance 1 and 2, which explain how humans came up with AI and how AI ended up rebelling against humans. I thought it was a great way to expand on that universe. The other little shorts in this thing, I've always thought they were a little self-indulgent. They were more like they were trying to be really artsy and not really explaining too much about the characters or the story. Anyway, that's just the way I felt about it. I still have it. I still bought it. I wasn't that big a fan. Then you had Matrix Reloaded, which wasn't that bad, also did a good job at expanding the universe. One of the things I found more interesting about Matrix Reloaded is the fact that in the first Matrix, the only person the only figure of authority that you see is Morpheus, and he's parroting this whole prophecy thing, and he believes Neo is the one. And I remember thinking that this is what everybody thinks in the universe of the Matrix. Everybody has this believes the same religion that Morpheus believes and thinks that Neo. But in the end, when you finally visit Zion and you see what people there are about, you see that not everybody believes the shit that Morpheus is saying about the prophecy and the end of the war and all this stuff. So I found that very interesting. It was an interesting way to subvert the expectations I had as a moviegoer, as a fan of the film, the expectations I had about that universe. The movie ends abruptly because I remember the Wachowskis were planning to have a simultaneous release. They shot both movies at the same time, Reloaded and Revolutions. They were planning on having both come out at the same time. Warner disagreed, and then you had I think it was like a 6-7 month gap between the two. Revolutions was the worst movie. I remember it was the very first time that I was disappointed with seeing a movie in theaters, because up until that point I was basically a kid, so going to the theater was always fun for me because I'm going with my friends or with whoever I was dating at the time. It was always fun. I never had a bad movie going experience at that age until Matrix Revolutions. It's kind of weird to think that I became a fan of this franchise when that was the first movie that broke me as a moviegoer. I remember turning to my girlfriend at the time, and the idea of I just watched the movie and I didn't like it, I couldn't even verbalize that. I literally looked at her and I didn't know how to express that, this was shit. This was a brand new experience for me. So in a way, you can say that Matrix expanded my horizons in many ways. It showed me, at least the third movie, how shitty a movie could be. So I'm very excited when sources started saying that Warner wants to go back to that universe, go back to that. Well, everybody was freaking out because I imagine most people thought that they were going to do a straight remake of the first movie, which you probably don't have to. The Matrix is still a gorgeous movie to look at. It's a great movie, very entertaining. It's still, it doesn't feel like an old movie, even though it's almost 20 years old at this point. But it doesn't seem like that's what they want to do. It appears that what they want to do is expand the universe, much in the way that, say, Marvel expands their cinematic universe every time they put out a new superhero movie, or what Disney is doing now with the Star Wars property, putting out prequels and like these side, like Rogue One or the upcoming Han Solo. I just fucking hit this thing. Shit. Or the upcoming Han Solo movie. So that's what it looks like what they're gonna do. They're gonna maybe tell the story before the Matrix. There's just so much. There's so much you could, so many stories you could tell in that universe. And I feel that the Matrix, well, failed in that because I feel like Matrix ended up, as a whole, ended up being pretty disappointing with the last movie being so shitty. The Animatrix, they were cool, but I felt like they still leave a little bit to be desired. There's too much of it is very like showy and very artsy and doesn't really expand the universe, I felt. The games were also very interesting, if flawed in a lot of ways. Enter the Matrix was a video game that came out before Matrix Reloaded was supposed to come out in theaters, and it expanded the story in the same way. It's like it's supposed to take place between the two movies. But I remember Shiny and Atari, if I'm not mistaken, were involved in making that game, and they dropped the ball hilariously because the game is clearly unfinished. They had to rush the game to meet the deadline of the second movie that was coming out in May 2003, I want to say. The interesting thing about Enter the Matrix 2 is that it had these cutscenes that were actually shot with the actors from the movies, directed by the Wachowski siblings. I guess I have to say now, the Wachowski sisters, I guess. And that was really interesting. That gave a lot of, you feel like this is truly part of the movie experience that you saw in theaters. This is like a continuation. This is an expansion on that. Very interesting if the game was pretty shit. I still have the PS2 copy. Path of Neo was the second game, came out in 2005. It followed a more traditional approach to movies that turn into games. It was just following the path of Neo throughout the movies. A little more conventional and not as interesting as the experiment that was Enter the Matrix. So you have that. You have this massive universe that allows for so many stories, so many different protagonists. Neo doesn't have to be the main guy. I feel like it would be very easy to retcon everything that happened. Maybe not a straight up retcon, but like to introduce a character like, hey, this guy's also super interesting, but those guys didn't know. Like, I think you could tell a lot of interesting stories in this universe in a way that the original movies kind of, well, as a fan, I feel like they left me hanging. Now, Warner lately has fucked up when it comes to like these ambitious projects of like expanding universes with the DC movies being, well, pretty shitty. But I have some faith in this project. I think if they attach the right directors, with the right script, I feel like I'm excited. I'm excited to go back to this. I feel like so many stories were left on the table, and Warner knows that so much money is being left on the table. I guess it was kind of inevitable that this would finally happen, and I'm excited. For one, I'm the only one from what I can tell. I'm very curious about what the split is going to be in the comics, because I follow a lot of people that talk about movies and stuff like that, and pretty much every one of them seems to hate the idea of revisiting the Matrix. You know what? Fucking bring it. I'll be there. I'll watch it. I'll buy the commemorative cups and everything. Put out a new game while you're at it. I'll fucking buy it. I don't care. But that's what I think. Once again, thank you so much for finding me and for sticking around and joining me. I hope we enjoyed this time we have together. And that's everything for today. I'll see you guys next time. What if it sucks though? Shit. I can't. Oh man, Revolutions was such a big disappointment that I fucking Warner, man. Fuck up every single superhero movie, but just try to make another cool Matrix. Oh, it would be so great.